right, welcome back. Welcome back to Straight Out the Mud. I'm your host, J Dub. Today I have a very special guest in the building, a lifelong friend, a Board of Education trustee for Jackson Public Schools, Deputy Director of Training and Recruitment, a mother of six, lifelong citizen of Jackson, a chair member of the Racial Equity Commission of Jackson, Michigan, none other than Keisha Hampton.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Keisha.
Thank you.
Like I said before, it was kind of hard getting you here, but I appreciate you being here. You kept your word. Thank you. When I was going over the other day, I was going over your accomplishments, and one stood out, and it was the Board of Education trustee for Jackson Public Schools. I was just wondering, how does one get involved in that? Like, does it take an experience or just noticing a lack?
It's so many things, so many different reasons why individuals get involved with the school board. Some of it's, recognizing and being aware and knowing that you have ownership, you have say so, and then to utilize that. So, in different communities, they understand the power that is in governing, and so they guide their families and children and themselves into that direction. There's a lot of power in governing, in your vote. Okay, so some families just know that. Others, it's an experience. Others, it's experiences of others. So for me, it was the experiences of my girls. They were in high school, came home, were making some of the same complaints that I had 20 plus years prior to them going to school. And I recognized, okay, clearly, either no one is saying this, these concerns that my girls are having, and that I also had. Either no one's saying it, or not enough people are saying it, or they're not in the right place to say it. I'm a big picture thinker, and so my space where I could have, created a program and come in from like that space, grassroots level, and implemented different things, attempted to implement those things. That's just not my space. My space is generally in policy and in root causes. And because I recognized the root cause of an issue, I understood that to address the root cause, I had to be at the board table. And so that was why I chose to get into board service.
Wow, that's commendable.
Thank you.
What are some of the things that you're proud of since being a member or a trustee?
Yeah.
Like accomplishments, things that you've seen come to fruition by what you've done.
Yeah. So several things. So board governance, almost in any type of elected official space, it's how you accomplish things can be, it depends on what you define by accomplish, right? And the way that you accomplish, depending on how you're defining that term accomplish, you oftentimes have to have 4 or more votes, depending on the size of your board. So the JPS school board is 7 members, which means that you have to have 4 or more people voting yes to something for it to get accomplished or passed, right? I've been in the minority on the board for the full 4 years that I've been there. So getting something passed was not something getting it passed or not, I didn't define that as an accomplishment, right? So, but I have, because of my persistence and insistence and noise level, I have gotten things passed as well. But because that's not the primary area that I define accomplishments in, I'll talk about the area that I feel is what I've accomplished. And my biggest accomplishment, in my opinion, is really pulling in parents, really pulling in the community, really being transparent to the community and showing the community, opening up JPS and showing the community what JPS is doing, how JPS is doing it, their power in impacting or influencing what JPS is doing. That's been my biggest accomplishment that I've had over the last 4 years. Not everybody knows everything that they should know about JPS, but more people know about it today than they did 4 years ago prior to me getting on the school board. And I'm very proud of that accomplishment. Very proud.
Because sometimes it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like it's not all about what you get done. Sometimes it's bringing awareness and showing people how to go about things. You know what I'm saying? Getting them involved, bringing them together. Just before you can even get something accomplished, you have to get those on board that's willing to get behind you and support whatever the cause, the agenda is. So that,
Absolutely.
I feel like that's very important.
Can I add a little bit to that?
Oh yeah.
I was going to say that. So 100%. If I had the votes to accomplish the many things that I have, that I know would help fix JPS, I would definitely be pushing to pass stuff. Our city, our space of individuals who exist here, we're not designed in a way where we are aware of what's going on, where we are being funneled information, where we are looking for the information. Like we're not hugely civic minded a community. We're just not, unfortunately. And so I recognize the climate of our community and understood that in order for me to get things accomplished, as you just said, I've got to make you aware first. So that's why, for me, when I sat down at the board table, I didn't say, Keisha, you got to get all these things accomplished in order to be successful in what you're doing. I said, Keisha, you got to start at the bottom, which is where you just have to start, and that is in informing people, showing them, opening things up. Like I needed to do that footwork first, and so in doing that, that's where my accomplishment has been at. But like you said, without people knowing that information, we can't even get to vote. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah.
I, for some reason, when I'm hearing you, I'm getting a picture of like Congress and how like one party want to get something passed, but the obstacle is there because everybody's not on board. Can you go over some of those obstacles? You touched on it vaguely a little bit, so it got my mind turning.
Yeah.
But what are some of the obstacles that you have faced with trying to get things accomplished?
Yeah, so again, sitting down at the board table, I know and knew coming in that it takes 4 votes to get anything passed, right? So I didn't focus my energies and my efforts at the board table as far as getting things passed, because I knew coming in that the mindset that I have is not the mindset of the majority of the board. They're just not. They're not me. They don't think like me. They're not individuals who are in tune with the community. Unfortunately, they're just not. With the broader community. So we all should come to the board table in tune with our own community, but we should also have a bead on the entire community, because we are governing an entire community that doesn't necessarily look like me and doesn't look like them. I recognize that most of the board members that I sit down at the table with, they are in tune with their community and they're not in tune with others. So because of that, I knew that I wasn't going to be getting, that was going to be a barrier that I said, God didn't say he should go and fight that battle. That wasn't what I came here for. But like you said, getting stuff accomplished, and the barriers that I faced, the biggest barrier that I have experienced here that I focus on, that is community involvement, community engagement. And the barrier from that space is in a lack of knowledge, a lack of transparency, a lack of understanding. My community not being informed has been my barrier. And so that's why I've been tackling that barrier. You know what I mean? How do I inform the community? How do I bring them in? How do I open everything up so they can see what's happening? Because when they know, they're coming. It's not because they don't want to. Jackson is not like we don't want to be involved. Jackson's like, I didn't even know. But now that I know, I'm coming. So they're come when they know. So I'm like, how do I get this information out there? How do I let them know? Yeah, they coming. It's not that we don't want to. But if we don't know, like if I don't have kids in school, how am I paying attention to it? If I ain't see nothing anywhere telling me anything, nothing in the newspaper, like nothing, but once I tell them, so that's my barriers. How do I get this information out there?
But see, I brought this up to you before about the demographic thing, right? Because I'm stuck on that because I'm looking at, like, if I want to go after bluegill, I know where to go fish for bluegill. Okay. I'm not going to go there looking for trout, So if you look at the numbers of the people that's in Jackson, it's going to be a very small number of those that are naturally interested,
absolutely,
just drawn to it because they don't have a stake in the game.
Right.
They don't have a child to go to JPS. Yep. They don't have a grandchild to go to JPS, or they're so young that it doesn't even go on their radar.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's only to the people that are. And then there's those that are not actively involved in their kids, and in activities and school. That is that's another problem that the kids shouldn't have to be dealing with. And I'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But when you look at the people that actually have an interest in interest in JPS, the board and what they're deliberating over or whatever, the number is so small. So how do you get those involved to support you? Because everyone should be interested in education because it's going to affect you one way or another. Whether your kids, they might not go yet, but they will be there. Or, they're going to be running around here, How do you get those people involved? How do you reach out?
Yeah. So one, for sure, I think for me, it's really important for me that I understand, like you just mentioned already, what are the barriers to that space? Like, what are all the things that we have to consider when we're trying to get people involved? And so for me, I recognize that if I'm way up here, societal wise, society is not a place that has historically informed our community of the importance of education. We are we're first, government officials, Congress, and, these different places, they're quick to cut government funding when it comes to education. Like, education is just not important like it ought to be, right? When you look at history, you understand that education wasn't designed for everybody. You know what I mean? And even in the designing of the education that was designed for a specific group of individuals, it was not designed to be honest and transparent, and it just wasn't. So education, like if we look up there, okay, that's one of the reasons why many people are not concerned about education, don't understand the importance. Like, there's that, right? So then let's come down to like the city level. We'll skip, a few layers, but if we come down to Jackson City, people, of course, they do have those things that, I don't have kids in school, I'll know, just all the things. So how do we get them involved? One, again, it's all about, that information sharing. It's all about letting them know, okay, this is why education is so important. And so sometimes I'll say at the board table, I'll say that, our teachers and education in general, we are the hand that rocks the cradle. Way back in the day when we were younger, there was this saying about, I think it was a movie even, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. You know what I mean? We act like, even when it comes to, I'm a mom, that's a huge area for me. Very prioritized area of my life. I recognize the value, the extreme value of a mother. Parents in general, but a mom, so we'll say as a mom, that society doesn't necessarily always acknowledge or appreciate the work that goes into crafting minds and raising children, right? So education is very similar to that, right? We've got these teachers who are babysitting basically your kids 8 hours a day, and while they're doing it, they're supposed to be educating them. You know what I mean? We as a society, we don't understand the power of teachers. We don't understand the power in curriculum. We don't understand, and we show that we don't understand by underfunding it, by not prioritizing it. And so because of that, if you don't understand the power of education, then it's easy to not have it on your radar, to not pay attention to it, to send your kids off to school and just kind of, and not because that there's some lack in you. You just don't know the power. Right. In my opinion, boards of education, and there are groups of individuals who understand it, boards of education are almost more powerful and more impactful than all these other spaces that people sit in, than city council, than Senate, than House of Representatives, than the governor, than the almost more important, because you are literally, you're there, you get to decide on what they're learning about. And this is crafting the minds of the future. Yep. It crafts you set the space up for them to be in. And sometimes you set the schedule and all these different things, and they connect to the school to prison pipeline. Like, all these things are there that are, if you're not pouring into kids about, in creative ways, that's stifling that creativity. You know what I mean? If you're punishing every little thing they do, that's setting them on the course of the school to prison pipeline. So education is huge. And as society, we have been very intentional about ensuring that all the way down that we don't understand how important it is. And so therefore we have folks who they don't know.
And then I don't think it was, like you said, it wasn't prioritized back then.
Never. It's never been prioritized, especially for minoritized people. But even the group that it was designed for, they didn't design it so that those people will be overly knowledgeable. Right. Now, they do better in some spaces. In some spaces, like, they're always, whatever. But in general, their books are not accurate. You know what I mean? Even though they were designed for them, it's still not. So yeah.
So I guarantee you, there's a lot of people that want to know. Where does Jackson Public Schools fall within the ranking scores, test scores. I don't know, but not just the scores of what they're doing. I'm talking about as far as what because you might excel in what we're providing. As far as us providing this curriculum, where does it rank to other cities in Michigan?
So what I'll say, because people Jackson Strong and all these different things, and that's all great. I'm the type of person that I want excellence, right?
Okay.
I don't compare myself to districts that are failing and look at my failing grades and say, well, at least I'm not failing as bad as you. Like, I don't do that. You know what I mean? Because I know we can do better. You know what I mean? So JPS is not like ranked highest in the state of Michigan. We are absolutely not. You know what I mean? Now, I also want to say, does JPS do some things well? We have some amazing teachers. We absolutely do. We have some absolutely amazing teachers. You know what I mean? I'm sure there are a few of our administrators that are pretty decent as well. But I'll stick with the teachers because, that's kind of one of my areas. We have some amazing teachers, some very dedicated folks who really are committed to the work that they do, and they do a very good job. That's not the system, though. These are incidentals, right? Okay. So these are incidental teachers, specific ones over here, there, that are doing amazing work, and we want them to continue to be able to do that. Just overall, though, JPS ranks in the bottom 50 of the schools in America. But in Michigan, though, we are lower ranked. Now, I don't have any statistics in front of me. People can go online and look that data up. But we are currently, JPS is currently working its way through a 3-year priority partnership agreement with the state of Michigan. And what that means is that we had schools that were failing so badly, JPS, that were failing so badly that the state of Michigan came in and said, we're going to create a partnership with you, basically hold your hand and, meet with you very, very often to make sure that you bring these schools up. And if you don't, at that time, then we're going to take over your schools. Now, mind you, about 10 years ago, we were in the same place. Okay, so that says something, in my opinion, to where JPS is at and how it's performing. One of the very important things that I do and did and still do is I look at the data of JPS. And I don't memorize it. Okay, I look at it, get my information, and I go have conversations about it. But it's very important for us to look at the data, and what we find in the data is that our minoritized communities are always performing the lowest. Now, that has no reflection at all on our minoritized students. That's very much so 100% reflective of JPS as a system, because you'll find across the nation that this is a trend. Again, that's not an excuse. That doesn't say that it's okay. It says that in this urban district, which JPS is, we are not focusing on finding ways to be creative with at a system level that to engage our minoritized community. We're not doing that. We should be. That's something that's really, and our data, again, every data set that we have, if you look at it racially and economically, those folks who are social economically disadvantaged, meaning they fall in like the lower numbers of earnings, those groups as well, poor folks, they perform as well, also not so well in JPS. And it's always that way. So black and brown folks and poor white folks, they all perform worse. That says something about our district. We're an urban district. We've always been the urban district in Jackson County. We should have a robust learning system for that community, because that's the primary community that we're serving that is failing. And it's not, again, a reflection of our intelligence levels or our ability, but we're not engaging them. You know what I mean? So JPS does not perform, and we're not ranked in a way that would be of any, we're ranked low. So it's not, we can't say we're in the top 5, we're in the top 10, we're in the top 25. We're not.
But I think a lot of times people, not us, but I'm saying in general, we use the term underprivileged, poor, or whatever. But there's so many things, so many nuances that go in with that, right? So you have kids being expelled and punished or held back or put in detention or whatever, when there's so many other facets that are not taken into accountability of why that kid might be failing. Absolutely. It might not because that kid is lazy or because he has learning disabilities. It might be because of transportation or because he couldn't get a good night's sleep, because there's so many other things that go into it that needs to be catered to. Yes. So when you say a robust system or a plan to kind of figure out what the target, figure out what the problem is before you start penalizing and punishing it, dissect it and figure out why. Why are they? We know that they are. But let's figure out why. Do we have to have better transportation for them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Send them a ticket to go home to get
Right.
some food. Or I don't know.
Right.
But there got to be something else
Yeah.
put in play
Yeah.
to help them out when they're not getting help somewhere else. Because
Absolutely.
now they're getting double punished.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If
Absolutely.
they're not getting what they need outside of the school,
Yep.
then they go to school and get punished for it.
Yep.
Like yeah.
One of the first things, one of the first conversations I had when I got on the school board was with Dina Morgan. She reached out to me and she was like, "We don't have transportation for our high school students on the South Side," which I knew about. You know what I mean? Which was also a concern of mine. So I was really grateful that she, as a community member, also brought that up. But when we look at our demographics of those who are performing, who are not performing as well as they should be and as well as they could be, based on again JPS's system and not on the students, we recognize that. Again, our minoritized students, which come from the South Side, which we have chosen not to bus, this is a group of individuals who are not performing well. And we know that you need to be in school in order to, hear, learn, you know what I mean? So, and we live in Michigan, there's always inclement weather, you know what I mean?
That was one of my mind.
But we've chosen to say that within this amount of space, that if you live this close to the school, we're not going to bring you in. We're an urban district who's failing a specific group of individuals who is in this area. We should be able to say, you know what, this rule is not going to apply because, again, we recognize that we need you all here. And if this is a potential barrier that's keeping you from being here, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that you have transportation. It don't matter if you live within 2 or 3 blocks within the school or a mile within the school. We're going to make sure that you get here.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we decided that that's not important. You know what I mean?
Wow.
and that's just one example. There are so
I know.
many.
Yeah.
So many.
I had a few going through my mind, but
Yeah.
they want to hear from you. So,
Yeah.
So what are the plans or some of the things you want to implement for 2025?
Yeah.
They kind of, I don't know, like you said, unless you get people on board and people that's going to back you up, I don't know how it's going to come about, but endeavors to make this come about. Like, what are the things you're endeavoring to do?
So what my community has done, and I've been very grateful for, especially for the last 2 years when a lot of this crazy stuff has been occurring, is they've been showing up. They show up. They're showing up. Yeah. I'm so grateful, so thankful, all those things. 2025, what I would love to see, one, greater understanding, more awareness, more participation, more seeking that information, and getting involved, for me, there's no judgment on my community as far as why they're not involved. You know what I mean? I'm a mother to 6, a divorced single mom to 6. You know what I mean? And so I get that we're trying to make ends meet. You know what I mean? We don't have time sometimes to be involved in certain ways. We don't understand the importance. We don't understand the value, and not even that, not understanding the value, that's wrong. Sometimes there is no value in what our students are being taught. My boys in particular, come home, when they were in school, and still now, why are we learning about this man from the 6th century? What does that have to do with today? So some of those things that are at play are very relevant, you know what I mean? So 2025, what I would love to see is still parents saying, it doesn't have to be a big issue. I would love to see parents say, I'm going to prioritize coming to school board meetings. School boards are way up here. Most parents are just engaging with their teachers if they're engaging with teachers. So then you add another level, there's a principal, there's the admins, then there's a school board. Parents are not trying to be, but I would love to see in 2025 parents prioritizing engaging with the school board, even if it's just sitting in the meetings, you know what I mean? Or finding a grassroots group. There's Family Coalition for Change. They can find them on Facebook. But saying, connecting with that group and saying, okay, how can I be involved? Because if you don't know the issues, then of course you don't know how to be involved. But if you are intentional about learning what's out there and what are the issues, then you can be better informed, and then you can know how to be involved. Well, you sometimes connecting to a group helps you do that. So either coming to sit in the school board meetings and or connecting with groups like Family Coalition for Change. But I would love to see more of that. We've got right now, we're facing budget cuts, and that's going to be huge. Some of these teachers may get cut from their jobs, and there's going to be an outcry from the community because some of your friends and family members could potentially be losing their jobs this year.
We're talking layoff.
Yeah, we're talking layoff. Now, so we don't have a specific, we have to trim our budget, and we don't have specifics on what's going to be trimmed, right? But layoffs could be included in there. And in my opinion, I think the community should know that, and I think the community should show up and say, hey, look, these are the areas that I want you to consider cutting, and these are the areas that I think you should not cut. Like the community should be involved in that conversation versus just complaining about it. But if you show up, then we can do that. You know what I mean? There's this new administration coming in. The new presidential administration that's coming in. They're already talking about deporting and using ICE to deport our students. We need to have people showing up to that. Like we want, I would love to see the community come out and say, I want you all to be a sanctuary school. I want you to be a school that says that we're not going to participate with them. And we know the federal government's going to do what it does, but JPS doesn't have to support that. Like I would love to see, us recognizing some of these issues, and then I can already see, some of these groups coming in pushing maybe book bans more, because now the administration is in support of that, and our funding may or may not get cut based on that. So I can see there more pressure from that group coming to say, let's impact education even more in these negative ways. I would love to see the community come in and say, absolutely not. You know what I mean? So there's always so much on the table that our community should be aware of and be informed about, and there's power in numbers. There's more power in the people than there are people in power. There's 7 of us who sit at that table, right? So we're the people in power. There's a whole community out there of individuals. I get, you get all these individuals saying, and we will not vote for you unless you do ... There's the power. I need people to understand their power and then come use it, and that's by getting involved,
What was the book ban thing you're talking
about? So in the last few years, we've had a lot of community members who are adverse to accurate history. They don't want accurate history being told and displayed and available to our students. And so they come to different school board meetings and say, we want you to ban these books. We have not had that at JPS because our administration was not favorable to that. So they were still doing it, but it wasn't favorable to that. So we had a lot more leeway. We weren't worried about, funding being cut federally. But now that's going to be a bigger issue for us, and many other things,
So when we talk about cutting funds, and like I said, I'm new to some of this, so do the county or the city get a certain amount of money, and then they decide where to allocate it to, like law enforcement, the library, like roads, or whatever. So I'm trying to make it make sense. They're gonna cut the education budget or fund?
Yeah. So federal funding comes, So I don't want to overspeak right or speak wrong, but I do know that federally, we get funds directly to the school based on the category and the demographics of our school. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's allotted at so we have a specific amount that we get per student, which is why, they're so big on count days. Have your kids in here, because that's telling the federal government how many students are here and how much money I should get, for this student, right?
Okay.
So this new administration, though, it's already threatened.
So it's not just Michigan.
No. Yeah, all around. Yeah, all around. I mean, and the new administration, it's already threatened that, if certain aspects of information knowledge are present in your spaces, in your, in your system, then we will cut funding for that.
Really?
Now, how much of that's going to actually materialize? I think a lot of it, because, we not only have the president's house, the Senate, and, the Republic or the House of Representatives, like we have, many layers that if every house wasn't his, then we might have some hope. But every house is his, so we're looking at some serious things that people need to be aware about. They need to be paying attention.
That's very serious.
Yeah, it's serious. Then you also need to. I would love to even see in 2025. Some of our grassroots groups. Setting up their own educational spaces. So, we're going to, I can see them, 2 hours, hour or two after school, come on over here, we're going to teach you accurate history. We're going to teach you, the power of civic engagement, because those things are not taught well, but then also they are also under attack now with this new administration. So the next 4 years, parents really need to be, pouring into their own kids.
So I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm hopefully you do. What committee is over? What committee is over the books that they receive? Like who does the actual picking and selecting?
That's the school board.
Of the history books.
That's school board. So this is how it's designed. We just had our curriculum was just updated in 23. This is 20. So not 24. We're in 25. So in 23. We had, I think it was 23, it might have been the beginning of 24. Anyways, our curriculum was updated. So mind you, this is an interesting story. The school board, and this is one of my accomplishments, okay? So the school board was given a a line item on our agenda. So we come to sit down to the board table, we get an agenda, and on this agenda is we need to update the curriculum, and here's the invoice for how much we need you to pay to update this agenda, to update this curriculum. That was all the information that we were given at that time. I said, because I'm a board member who asks lots of questions, where is our presentation to tell us what's in this curriculum? Who's it towards? How has it been vetted? Like all the questions, you know what I mean? And so I asked for a presentation. Now we did, so because of that vote that was supposed to happen that night, it was stalled. That's an accomplishment for me. Mm-hmm. And then the next month, we had a full presentation from the teachers come in. And the teacher said, we vetted this for this long. We vetted this many. You know what I mean? We chose this one. We co-piloted with this group of individuals for this long. Like all that information was very important to me as a board member, because what I'm not opposed to is updated curriculum. This is education. You got to have curriculum. Mm. But how do I know that this is the curriculum that you, as a teacher who is the expert in this space, that you've chosen? How do I know that you looked at several? Because I don't want you to pick the first one that comes to mind. I, as a school board member, want to know that you have done your due diligence so they had done that work, but we hadn't been given that information. As a school board member, it's my responsibility to ask those questions. Nobody else was asking those questions. That's an accomplishment. That's one of the things that I do at the board table very well, differently, unfortunately, than my fellow board members, is I ask lots of questions. That's accomplishment in the sense that because I came in January of 2021 with tons of questions and have never stopped that, now you will see a lot more information being handed out, a lot more questions being asked from others. Right. Not that they ask as many as me ever, but for whatever reason, I mean, this is my personality. But, my comfort in making sure that, in my responsibility, my diligence in ensuring that we have what we're supposed to have as much as I can, has paid off. You know what I mean? So like I said, we had a full presentation that next month. We signed, the invoice, and they got their curriculum. But that's school board. And
a lot of that come out through like the audit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely have audits.
How often do you have audits?
So each month we have a facilities and finance meeting. And so you can go and sit in that, and you can get information about, how the books are, balancing each month. Okay. We do have a yearly audit that the outside group of individuals come and audit JPS, and we've passed those audits yearly.
Man, this has been very, very insightful. I hope that people that are watching are finding it as important as I am. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff I did not know that I found very interesting, and I'm guilty of not paying attention to a lot of the stuff that has taken place. Mm-hmm. But ever since I've been speaking with you, like I will make sure I'm there at the next board meeting, so I can see what's going on.
Yeah.
And try to bring as many people I can.
Yep.
Because you're gonna need support.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna need support, and just awareness alone
yep.
is key.
Yeah.
So
like I said, even those even the grassroots groups, parent groups, like I said, Family Coalition for Change, they'll have a meeting on the 27th of this month, a Monday. And that flyer should be coming out soon. I talked to the organizers of it, and they let me know that that's going to be happening. But even individuals, because coming to the school board can be kind of scary to folks for whatever reason, and I get it, like no judgment on that. Even if people are just coming and sitting in the audience and just getting familiar with what's going on, even watching them online, we live stream monthly. Every month, our board meetings are live streamed, so people can go on YouTube, look us up, JPS School Board, I think it's JPS School Board, Jackson Public Schools board meetings or whatever, something like that. But you can find us and stream the meeting. That helps you get comfortable with what's going on. You know what I mean? But coming and sitting, even if they don't want to talk or don't want to say anything, but just want to sit there and look at the dynamics on the school board. Look at the dynamic. That's very important, because that plays out in your students' lives. We just had an issue last April where one school board member, February, presented to the school board that we change a couple of the meeting dates based on their personal schedule. They personally could not make it to a couple of meetings in the year, and said, can we change all the school board meetings? Can we change these several school board meetings based on that? Yeah, okay. And so, I was not opposed to us changing those dates, except where those dates intersected and they conflicted with my dates, right? Mm-hmm. So I personally don't come to the school board and says, I'm going to be out of town, or I'm going to be at another meeting, in May, can we change the entire board meeting? To me, that's selfish. You know what I mean? And so I didn't do that. And so and then if I do ask for that, I'd say, is this going to negatively impact any of you on the school board? And if that's the case, then that means that I just have to take the loss of not being there versus, harming someone else. To that point, when I first got elected, one school board member also said, hey, can we change the date that we meet all together, right? And so at that time, there were no conflicts for anybody on the board, and so we voted yes in favor of that. The second time, though, there were conflicts, and the board said, no, we're going to change these dates for this one school board member. Screw you, basically. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, that dynamic of it, if it works for one of us and it's harming you who are in the minority, we don't care. Mm. And that dynamic plays out in our school district every single day. It plays out in our policies. It plays out in how we are. And those types of things, I publicize that kind of stuff because it's important to our community. Like, these are the people that you're voting for who said, my schedule is more important than you and your schedule. And it doesn't matter how that's going to harm you. I'm still going to get what I want to get. If that's the type of people who you're putting in these tables, if you don't know that that's the type of person that you put up here, now you know. Because your child is also dealing with that.
The ugly truth about it is, like, you don't know how people are going to perform.
Yes.
What their what their agenda
mm-hmm.
is. When you're voting for them, you're voting for them because you recognize the name.
Yes.
Because you know them, or I'm not saying this is a fact, but because they're black, I know them. It's good to have them.
Yeah, that's a fact.
But it's so much deeper than that, and you don't realize it till you get them voted in there, and then you see it's such a political game. Political game.
And then a lot of times you don't know what they're doing when they sit down.
Yeah.
Like, when I got to the school board, there was an individual on the school board who I had voted for, and I was like, I was so excited to get him elected to the school board, or at least use my vote to get him in there. Yeah. When I sat down at the school board table and started seeing what was going on, I was like, oh my God, I wasted a complete vote. This was absolutely horrible.
That's what I'm saying.
But if we don't pay attention, we won't know. And not only that, one of the other accomplishments that I have is that I've been very transparent with my community. Right. Normally, school boards and these really governing bodies, they don't want you to know what they're doing.
Right.
They don't want you, so they're not publicizing this information. They don't want to be in the news unless it's something that's favorable to them. They don't want you knowing anything. I've been very intentional.
I can attest to that. I've
very intentional about.
I'll scroll on Instagram or whatever, and that's the only way I am informed because I don't see any other board member doing it.
And they're not doing that on purpose.
Not to say they're not. I just don't see it.
Trust me, they're not doing it on purpose because they're not. You can't compare your list of accomplishments to mine and say you are proud of that. Right. Not when you're looking at certain communities, because from our community, we're gonna look at it and say, well, hold on, wait a minute, why'd you vote like that and not like this? Why would you vote in a way that's harmful to our community? Like, you had all the facts and details that was sitting in front of you, and you still voted. Yeah. I'm not trying to publicize that, and yet, of course, I am, because I'm always voting.
And that's what I think people ought to appreciate about you. You know what I'm saying? Because you have been transparent, and you're not afraid to ruffle feathers
at all.
And we don't need nobody there that's going to be afraid to go against the status quo or what has been in place for so long because they don't want to get they scared of a little kickback.
Yes. Yes.
That makes you a coward.
Yes.
What are you there for?
Yes.
Like, what did you waste? I would have and I think that's why a lot of people lose confidence in these.
Yes.
So-called
elected officials.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because they know, like, they already in their mind, they're like, you're not going to make no difference.
Yes.
Like, you're not going to actually speak out for what we need you. If I come to you and I need help, how are you going to help me?
Yep.
Are you going to turn me away? Are you going to help me?
Yep.
That's what I voted you in for.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And that's when you come and you tell them, you will never get my vote again. You will not get my vote again. So that's why it's so important for us to pay attention to what these folks are doing in there. And that's why just crazy. Information is so important. Knowing what's going on. Like, somebody just saying, we just need to change. We changed the dates and we got the votes to change the dates, so therefore it's okay. If you're just looking at it from that space, well, they got the votes. Okay. And this is minor. And then it's not minor at the same time. Because if that's the practice that you have, that practice is not only in this space, it's all. So this is why my one child, or this group of children. Remember, this is an urban district that we are not focused on with urban. This is why you can ignore this group of people because for you got what you need.
That's indicative of how. Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. It don't stop right there.
Not at all, and that's why it was so important for me to say, well, no. Let me give you all the details of why this is an issue, so that you can then connect to this. Yeah, it's negatively impacting Keisha as a board member. Yes, it is, and she's gonna be okay. Right. It's still negatively impacting me, but this ain't where it stops. Right. This is a practice, and your board members see this as okay. You better not vote them back in. Yeah, but you better know what they're doing.
That's deep. That is deep. Well, Keisha, you've been very insightful, and it's been a pleasure to have you here. Is there anything else you want to cover before we wrap it up?
No. Again, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Man, you know what I mean?
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it though because people need to know, and every audience is different. And so I'm thankful.
I would love for you to come back sometime and give us some time, and let's see what transpires. Yeah. Anything come about? Yeah. Because I do want to see. I want you to see the momentum change as far as. Yeah. Support people coming out and just being aware and just getting behind you because you do not have to have a child in JPS and then you can, but strength in numbers is how things come about if you care about your community and the future of your community. Yeah. This is something that you probably want to come out and be a part of.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Wrapping up that one. Get connected with those groups. Don't be afraid. One, follow me on Facebook. This is a Facebook community primarily. I do have an Instagram page as well. So Keisha Hamilton, JPS Board Trustee on Facebook. Keisha for JPS on Instagram. FOR for JPS on Instagram. But even if nothing else, start following so that you can get information. Look at the agendas. There's not very long to look at. Look at the agenda. Just skim through it. Come sit in a board meeting. Connect with those groups. Like I said, Family Coalition for Change. You can find them on Facebook, Family Coalition for Change. Find them on Facebook. Come to a community meeting. Like, these are the ways that you can get involved. And even if you're just sitting listening, and you'll find, if you have issues, especially our special needs community, we just don't do well in our special needs community. It's a huge thing for my heart. But especially those, there are ways that we can support you, give you information, et cetera, et cetera. So connect with us, and that's what I would say.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Man, that was very great. Once again, Keisha Hamilton, you got so many accomplishments. We didn't get to touch on them all. There's so many. We save them for next time, though. Okay. Until then, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, have a good day. We out.